All right. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited. I'm a little bit giggly because, again, our backstage conversations before we broadcast. But I am super excited to be back with you for an all new episode of the Made Marriage Show. Have you missed me? Have you missed this show? I didn't do it last week, but I'm back here and I promise this episode will make up for whatever we missed last week. I'm super excited to share this interview with my sister from another mother, one of my closest, longest term, dearest friend. No, we're not old. You're just one of my long-term friends. But even before I introduce her, let me tell you about the Made Marriage Show, just in case this is your very first time watching us. So the Made Marriage Show, well, let me back up a little bit more even and say who I am. I am Dr. Siobhan Farad. I'm a life and marriage coach, and I help women create happier, more loving marriages without having to make over their husband. And so I created this show, the Made Marriage Show, where I really just interview real wives, we're celebrities in our own right, about how they've been able to make marriage work. And one of the hallmarks of some of the work that I do really resides in how to look at yourself, self-reflect, self-growth, all of those things. And so this is a show that talks about how real women are doing that and how they've been able to sustain their marriages in the process. So I'm very excited now to turn the mic over and to introduce you to Kanisha Cameron. So Kanisha, tell us who you are, let us know all about you, and how you make your marriage work. Go ahead.
Okay. Thanks for the introduction. Where should I begin? Okay, so I'm Kanisha Cameron. I actually live in Richmond, Virginia. As Siobhan mentioned, we go way back. So
probably 20 years and 20 pounds later.
Seen my body parts, birthing things,
yes.
All that stuff. So, and I forgot the question. So what did you say?
How do you make marriage work? What's a quick tip?
I know it's so cliche, but communication. And I think for my relationship, it's something that we always have to struggle to work on, especially with personality differences. I'm very out there, so you could say, and then my spouse, my husband, is little less out there, so it's kind of like drawing it out of him. But I also get kind of quiet too, which is kind of weird. Most people think if you're more extroverted that you're more loud and you're out there, but I have a lot of moments too where I'm kind of just reflective and kind of don't want to be bothered and leave me alone. I don't know if it's because I put too much energy out and I just need my moment to refuel or something. But communication, I know it's so the cliche thing, but it's if you can just get on the same wavelength, it makes it so much. It just makes it a lot easier to be able to just talk about stuff that is really hard to talk about, even things are easy to talk about, and it's just cliche, but it's so true. So,
got it. Communication. So, Kanisha, can you turn your volume up a little bit? I can hear you okay. It muffled for just a second. I don't know if those of you who are watching can hear her okay, but I want to make sure
it's all the way up.
So. Okay. If you stay right there, I can hear you perfectly. But that's just me. I hope everyone else, you guys let us know who are watching if you can't hear her. So Kanisha, why don't you tell us your love story? I'm gonna sit here because I witnessed it a major part of it. But pretend I don't know. Tell me your love story.
Well, I can't reveal too much because then I would tell the time. I'm supposed to not reveal how long we've been married and all that stuff. But
right.
Well, we met when we were really young. So I guess we were in high school. But anyway, it was really one of those silly little oh, he's cute and all that. But it was kind of this one-sided thing. So essentially I saw him. I don't think he knew me, and it was more he was a passing by type of thing, and I was oh, he's kind of cute. Totally left it at that. Well, I had some mutual friends that were like, oh, I should call him. And, this is way before cell phone.
Texting and yeah.
Or I think I had a pager. And let me beep him. Let me put a little whatever. And so against my will, like I wasn't trying to do anything. So that's kind of how that came about, at least from a meeting. And so we were very young. It was very like that puppy dog, kind of like, oh, you're cute. Oh, you're cute. And we just kind of like end up connecting. But as far as when it got serious, I mean, of course, we just kind of dated and, went through a lot of the milestones I think, most people go through growing up, college, and all that good stuff. And we managed to kind of make it work through all those things. And, had some times where we took some breaks, and I don't know if my husband is watching this. I'm like a little nervous, like looking around the corner, like, is he peeping me?
So pretend it's just me and you. It's just me and you.
Yeah, I know. So he probably is up there like, taking notes, like, But yeah, and we dated throughout college, but I think it got really serious once we both graduated. We both kind of started our own little career paths and whatnot. And so I don't know. I think it just naturally fell into. I wouldn't say we had a traditional love story. I mean, we had that little puppy dog, I guess, high school or college kind of thing. But once you got older and you got your job and you have all these different responsibilities, and you start to really kind of put things into motion and say, okay, yes, I think I definitely feel like this is the person I want to be with. And like I said, the way it kind of fell into it, just kind of naturally felt right, to be together. And he proposed, and we, obviously went through the whole courtship and engagement and so on and so forth. Siobhan was part of that, okay? And so, yeah, and that's kind of how it just, I don't know, that's kind of way it worked out. So
awesome. So I know you and your husband, and I do know about some of you mentioned like when you have those different personality types, and my husband and I are very different on some major things as well in terms of our personality and our preferences and ways of going about doing things. But I have to say that as I've matured and as I think about marriage, I find a lot of times that it's no like coincidence that we marry someone that's like different from us in very specific ways, because I think it forces us to be more open-minded and it forces us to grow. And so how would you say, as you think about some of the differences between you and your husband, that being married to him, like with his unique way of doing things and his unique way of being, how would you say that it's helped you to grow, as a person yourself?
Yeah. To be honest, like, I think over the last, actually since moving to Virginia has really put a different spin on our relationship, because I had to lean on him a lot more. I think when I moved to Virginia, prior to that, I mean, I had my career and he had, a career. And then when we moved here, I had to kind of, I won't say had to, but it was just in a situation where we relocated essentially, and my job would not relocate me. So I was essentially just with, 2 young kids and so on and so forth. So relying on him more for not so much just financial, but just emotional, because it was a very psychological, weird feeling I was going through. And so that's something that I know growing up has not been something that I've been really good about doing. I mean, I don't ask for help. I'm pretty, I wouldn't say self-sufficient, but yeah, in most part I am. I'm not used to asking for help. I don't want any help. I can do it. I got this. But I definitely think that that has been the strength or the differences that we've encountered, that he is definitely, I've been leaning on him more for certain things. And even to this day, there's definitely a lot of things that are happening in my personal life that I definitely have to lean on him more for. But he's got the character or the strength to do that. And so that's kind of where that is. And then too, the whole thing I mentioned earlier about being introverted and extroverted, and that's really a subjective thing. Everyone defines that differently. But for me, it's true for me. I mean, when I think of extroverted, I definitely think of people who drive energy from other people. Mm-hmm. Like I get sad when I'm not around people. And whereas he's upstairs now chilling. Like he doesn't care. Like what I'm doing down here, he's totally fine. If I'm away from somebody for too long, I'm like, where you at? Where everyone? Where's everyone? Like, I cannot function without someone you know, being around me. So that definitely is like that, you know, we pull from that from each other, because he calms me down. Like I'm a little crazy sometimes, but he definitely calms me down, because he just takes a different, you know, when I get worked up about certain things, he's like, just, you know, he takes a step back and he's like, no, think about it from this perspective. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Or, you know, so he definitely brings that balance in that regard as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So what I love about you guys and what I love about having you as a guest is that you have been in your husband's life, like through some really major personal milestones, right? From high school through college, those young adult years. It's so formative, and so many things happen as you enter the world of work, and even, you know, getting married and becoming parents. How would you say that you maintain your own sense of identity? Like, what are some of the things you make sure you do so that you don't get sort of swept away and lose yourself in role of wife, mother, 1,001 other things that you are?
Yeah. I would say in the last 5 years or so, that has definitely not something that I have I was able to do. And even now it's a little challenge. I think, you know, I feel guilty, but I do have a business. So I do work, you know, in a corporate environment, but I also have another business, and that business, and I've had other businesses as well. So I'm not going to, you know, make this like this specific business has done this, but other businesses, just having something for myself has helped me in that regard. And I just think that, like, I think too, it's just a different phase in my life. Like, my kids are older now, so, you know, their needs are different. And so I think with them being a little bit older, I'm able to kind of, I don't feel as guilty, like when I need to, you know, go get my nails done or go get my hair done. I just kind of like, okay, they'll be all right. You know, like I just have that, but that it comes with time. It's not something that I just woke up and was like, oh, this is exactly how it's supposed to be. So, I mean, everyone goes through those phases. So if whatever phase you're in, just know that it will pass. But yeah, I do find like finding something that you can own for yourself. So I have my business that's like fun. It has to do with fashion. And that's really like right up my alley. And then I also have a group of women that I meet with. It's kind of a Bible study in a sense. So we meet instead of a woman's house is not that far away. And we meet once a week and we just connect, you know, with, it's obviously, you know, Christian related, but, you know, we just connect too on other levels. We meet for lunch and dinners and things of that nature. So those are my little moments where I need to kind of like recharge. And so I just take those moments and those opportunities where I can, but that doesn't mean that I hadn't the whole entire time. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of, you just get to a point where you have to, and I mean, he's on board. I mean, he definitely does not, especially when it comes to get my hair done, because I'm like, Lord Jesus, time for another do. But yeah, yeah, he definitely is supportive of those things. Definitely the hair. So
this is Comedy Hour and the Main Marriage Show, and just to put a plug for your business, LuLaRoe is Kenesha's fashion consultant business right now that she is an independent consultant for. And I can't believe I didn't wear LuLaRoe for this interview. Like, you should have totally reminded me, because I do have a lot of your clothes, and I'm looking forward to the new Noir line, especially. So
okay, it's all right.
I know. Okay, so let me talk with you about this, because I think this is something as women we think we have a handle on, but then when it really comes, you know, we're really confronted with it, becomes a little bit of a challenge. So I think a lot of times we enter marriage thinking that our spouse will like complete us in some way, right? We're sold this fairy tale. Remember the Jerry Maguire line of like, you complete me. Like, we want this like roses and violins where, you know, it's just like romance every day, and our husbands are feeding our needs to be loved and felt beautiful and appreciated and cherished and all of those things. And it doesn't always happen. It doesn't always happen. And so, you know, what would you say, or what have you learned to do, I guess, or what would you suggest to a woman who's in this place of feeling like unloved and not getting the attention that maybe she wants, or maybe there's some need she feels that is just not being fulfilled in her marriage. Like, what suggestions do you have for that situation?
I would say seek professional help. No, but no, honestly, I mean, I don't have any credentials to really give that kind of advice. But I mean, I do think something that and I'm going to put a plug in for you, because we went to your update, your very first update, and it was like a couples thing, and it was so much fun. Like, I'm still thinking about that. That was over. It was like ago? I mean, it was
2 years ago. Yeah.
And that was that was one of those moments where it was like, in that little bit of time, we were able to like find some things that we just either didn't know about each other or just kind of looked at each other differently. And it's weird because like you said, you've been married and you're kind of like, you've kind of grown up in these formative years and whatnot. But yet in this little moment where we're still able to rediscover things about ourselves and about each other and what our relationships are, you know, that it was like, wow, that's so weird. But one thing that was really, really good was that the love languages thing, that was really something that I think I wish somebody would have told me about that a long time ago. It's something so simple, but it's really just so powerful at the same time. More so me knowing what my love language is, and also obviously of your spouse, you know, because then you can know how to give and receive, you know, and which way that they, you know, respond to.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's something I would definitely, I mean, that may not be like the answer to everything. I'm not suggesting that at all, but that definitely is a start. I mean, at least to understand yourself. And that's a lot of what makes marriages work as well. At least, you know, and I'm not saying I have all the answers because I'm still learning about myself, but I definitely think the more you know about how you are and how, you know, which is why I know what you know, profess and a lot of your, you know, your teachings and whatnot, you know, is that just knowing more about yourself, how you can exude that and give and, you know, be able to give and receive, you know, because if you don't have anything to give, it's like, you know, you're kind of a chef. I mean, you can't go anywhere with that. So that might just be the one little bit, and that's something that I think is easier to do than, like, you know, go into this whole deeper thing, a discussion, which, you know, yes, that is important to kind of dig deep into that, but that definitely is a start. I think that's
I agree. That's an interesting perspective. I really like that. So she's talking about the 5 love languages. For those of you who may not be familiar with it, it talks about how each one of us prefers to receive and give love. And it offers a way to do that where you can sort of assess your love language and you can learn your husband's love language. And it provides a lot of really helpful insight to, again, like Kenesha said, to yourself as well as your spouse. And a lot of times when you're not feeling loved by each other, it's because you're speaking different languages, that maybe he's showing his love for you in physical touch and you're a words of affirmation person. And so if he's not complimenting you or expressing his verbal appreciation, you're not really receiving what he's giving you in another way. So yes to that. Habits, right? I feel like, you know, I've said this before, that sometimes it just takes like small deposits in the wrong habits to like turn a marriage the wrong way. And on the flip side, it's small deposits and new habits in the right direction that can really put a marriage back on track. So what would you say is maybe one healthy habit that you'd suggest to maybe a woman who could potentially be struggling in her marriage right now?
Well, definitely, especially if you have children, it's finding that time to connect. I know I'm guilty of this, and I'm not trying to put you out there, Siobhan, but I'm sure we both have these moments where we get wrapped up into our businesses. We want them to be X, Y, Z, and we're up late working on this, working on that, and I, you know, have to realize like I need to check in with my husband and just check in with him. And we do, like, when he first comes in, we're always like, okay, well, I would say he's more like, hey, how was your day? What's going on? Because we actually don't talk that much during the day because he's either super busy, and I just don't want to. Every time I do try to talk to him, I get cut off, so you know how that goes. So I'm not even going to go and do that. So He's like, I gotta go. I'm like, I need to
I was like in the middle of a story. It's so important.
You know how long it takes to retell a story. So
yeah. There are no quick phone calls with you.
Yeah, I know. That's why we don't talk, because that's just, I keep short my stories. So we just don't talk. So when he comes home, it's like, oh, how was your day? And so we do. But I have to make sure I check myself to make sure we connect. I think that's the biggest thing. Because I mean, I do think when the kids were younger, I don't think we did as much of a good job with that. I don't think we did it on purpose. I just don't think we knew. We were so wrapped up in our kids and like making sure their needs were being met. I don't think we were meeting each other's needs in that regard. So, I mean, that's a healthier habit, just to make sure you're always trying to connect. If it's not verbal, if you can't see each other, then definitely on the phone in some kind of way, FaceTime, Skype, whatever you need, just to kind of make sure you check in with each other and just have that connection, just so that, you know, I hear you, you hear me, we're there or something. So
awesome.
Try to make sure
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, right? I feel like just kind of like what you mentioned with learning about the 5 love languages, there's so many things that as you go on in years of marriage that like hindsight is 2020. What do you feel is like something that no one really tells you about marriage, but now that you know it, it's like really, really important?
Okay, do you want me to tell you the real thing, or you want me to tell you like the thing? Because I'm about to like bust somebody.
I want you to tell me the real, like the people want the real thing. Vicky's laughing at you.
Away.
But in a short form, Kanisha, okay? Because nobody has all night to.
So I don't know. I mean, this might sound a little negative, but I just think it's something that, like, I mean, my mother said this to me once, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" When I think before I don't know if I was pregnant, because we kind of had a quick little, like, we were married and got pregnant soon after, so we didn't have much of a lot of time of being just married. We kind of had a lot of milestones happen quickly. And I remember she told me, like, when I was pregnant, like, you know, just be careful, you know, women are very much like, we just take on a lot, you know, there's a lot of responsibility of, you know, children, you know, even in relationships, sometimes we are typically the ones that are like holding it down, holding it together. And I was like, no, not, because I remember, like, you know, seeing my parents' relationships and my grandparents' relationships, and they were totally different, but like just different type of relationships. And I was like, no, because, you know, we're young and we just know that this is modern. This is a modern marriage. Like, no, it's 50-50 and he's going to do this, I'm going to do that. We're both going to do this. We're both going to do that. Girl, it was not like that. I fell more into a traditional role than I thought I would. And, you know, and I was like, this is not what I signed up for. So, you know, that's definitely something that in hindsight, you're like, And so I think, you know, because we were so young, I don't think we had those like deep discussions as to like, what do you see as who's going to be doing X, Y, and Z? And not so much like a true task, but as far as just those roles, like who's going to take on which roles in the relationship. And I don't think we had that discussion, or we just assumed because we were younger and we just made some assumptions. So those are definitely things I think in hindsight, I wish we would have, because that would have saved about 5 years or so of like, maybe not 5 years, but it would have saved some years of some problems. I wouldn't say problems, but just some, you know,
some like side eyes and exactly, frustrations,
some lips like that and some rolling, you know, it would have saved a lot of that. If we probably would have been a little bit more honest about that. So those are some of the things I think that you just have to at least have a discussion about. And everyone's different, but I think that's something that we just didn't really think about. We just like, you know, I wouldn't say we went into it naively, but, you know, we probably did in hindsight and not really had those deep discussions. I think we too were young. I really don't think we knew what we were doing. I mean, who does really? I mean, there's no playbook, but I mean, we really were just a little like, going. It
was like going on love and a prayer, like
basically.
Some
value in people who are, you know, who are gonna get together later in life, you know, when they're a little bit older, you know, they have a little bit more wherewithal as to like what they want, what their, you know, what their needs, like they just know. I just think it's a little different than I think, you know, when you're starting off a little younger and you're kind of just, you know, we cute, you know, we're in love, we just think we're gonna make it work. And
I'm a modern woman, he's a modern man, he's gonna cook and I'm gonna, yeah, I know. Well, and it's funny because we got married, you know, you got married on the earlier side, I got married on the later side. And to your point about having those conversations, it's like we did have those conversations. And I have to say that I think the best predictor in many ways of the types of roles that you'll fall into, particularly when it relates to parenting and raising small children, is sort of like the roles that your family modeled, right? And so, you know, my husband, I would say, is more engaged and more, you know, active in helping with the kids than maybe, you know, our parents' generation. But underlying it is still these very traditional roles. Yeah. And it's interesting because someone gave me the same advice and insight too. And I was like, oh no, like, no, you know, not him. Like he's going to be doing all of these things. And I think, you know, what I read in a book, and I wish I could remember, I could probably pull the book up, but it was a really helpful book about parenting for anyone who's watching. I'm going to see if I can pull it up. And it talks about how when a child comes into the marriage, that the woman really assumes that nurturer role, and that the husband's role as provider is like increased like tenfold. And so his focus, while he wants to be helpful, like the stakes for him are so much higher now that there's a child involved to be that provider. And I think that we as women, on the other hand, don't value that as much. We don't recognize that as much. We're like, listen, like, stop working all the time and stop doing all this. Like, I need your help changing this diaper, or I need a nap, or I need something. We're looking much more for that emotional and support and encouragement in raising the kids. So I did find the book for anyone who is, it's called Baby Proofing Your Marriage. Baby Proofing Your Marriage. And it was it was really interesting. It says Baby Proofing Your Marriage, how to laugh more, argue less, communicate better as your family grows. And it's one of those books that really tells the real truth. It's written by a group of young mothers or mothers with young children, and they hit the nail right on the head.
Is it applicable to like kids, you know, older kids too?
I think so too. Yeah, because I mean, just the insight. It's like, oh, I never really thought of it that way. Yeah, it was good. It was a good book. So awesome. We are about to get to the reveal. So I want those of you who are watching to go ahead and put your comments in for how long you think Kanisha and her husband, Daryl, I guess I could say his name, have been married. And while you're doing that, because I know there's a little bit of a lag, I'm going to move on to just ask Kanisha any like parting words or like advice or, you know, just things that you really want to leave people with, anyone that may be scrolling through their newsfeed and catches this interview.
I don't know. I mean,
I know it sounds like so high stakes. Like these are like your parting words.
Oh, take this down.
I know.
I don't know. I know the pressure is like. I don't know.
Whatever you say, I'm gonna say it's great. So it's
I know. I know. I can tell you something like real simple. It's like just make sure you know. I know. I don't even want to say it, but anywho,
there's two roots to a man.
Like, I was gonna say, make sure that part the bedroom stays intact, because that's like the quickest way for relationships to like you know, go down the path that you don't want to. But that's not, I don't want to be superficial. I mean, there's more, it's deeper than that, but at the same time, like that's something that honestly, I mean, I think we kind of are afraid to talk about that, but I think
yeah,
it is what it is. I mean, there's sexual connection makes a huge difference. Like I can be mad at him and then like that happens and I'm like, oh, okay, we're good. I mean, I know it sounds really bad. I mean, we're not.
No, but you know what? There's like actual legitimate research behind that as like a thing, and it's from another book. Like obviously, I read a lot of books on this called Love and Respect, and it talks about the dimensions of respect and that are important for a man, and the dimensions of love that are important for a woman. And you know, it talks about sex and intimacy, and how we as women a lot of times think that, you know, our husbands want sex because of only the physical. And it really, for them, is actually much more emotional than we probably give them credit for, that they even are aware of. And the book puts a really interesting spin on what it really means to the relationship. And so I think you're right that, yes, there's obviously the physical aspect of it, but having that level of connection with each other really does melt away some of the other things that are just not that important. It's like sex is both an emotional, a spiritual, intellectual in some ways experience with each other. So I think you are right. Very.
Yeah, I was just kind of scared to go there because I was like, ooh, are you going to be like, you're going to give me, am I going to get in trouble when I get
I know, I'm like, I hope Facebook doesn't delete this video. I will be downloading it and saving it as soon as we're done, because that did happen before to another video.
There's a lot worse things on Facebook, trust me, than this. So
I know.
We're good. But no, I was kind of like, should I go there? But no, honestly.
No, go there. Yeah.
It's connection. I mean, if that's my lasting part, I know it sounds cliche, but we have done a better job of trying to make sure, again, we're always trying to connect every day in some small way. We try to make sure we have some date nights. We've gotten a little lax in them, but again, we need to rejuvenate that. And I'm not saying this is something we've been doing from day one. Trust me, we have not. And that's something I think, and that's what I'm saying is in hindsight, because it's like, any advice I would give to someone who is, whether you're struggling or not, I mean, you just need to make sure those things stay intact. And it's something simple though, like even just going out. It doesn't need to be a lot of money. I mean, you could just go sit in the car. I don't care. Go to Walmart. I mean, you need to spend time together and not talk about the kids. Like, even though it's going to happen, make it happen, but then just move on from that and like talk about something else, you know?
Yeah.
So that is
awesome.
Thing. Yes.
Okay. So we have guesses for your thing. What is ROFL? Mary?
Rolling on the floor. Like,
oh.
Come on, we ain't that old. Come on, girl.
I am. I'm sorry. You'll know I don't know nothing. Okay. So we have 14, 15 years as the primary guesses for you. So drum roll.
Oh, wait, I gotta count. Hold on. Okay. 13.
This child. 13? Is that 13?
Yeah.
13 years. Wow. Congratulations. 13 years just this past August. Was it August 21st?
Yep.
20. Yeah. Okay. Well, Kanisha.
What do I win?
Huh?
What do I win?
What do you win? No, you don't win anything. First of all, nobody got the answer right. Nobody wins any prizes. I didn't even think it was 13. I thought it was actually 14 or 15 myself, too. That's what I would have guessed. And I was like right there.
I do the math because I was like, okay, so like you do your kids, don't you like add your kids? You're like, okay, how many? Yeah.
No, I just always remember the year and I have to think about it backwards.
Yeah. No,
it takes me a minute sometimes. Kanisha, this has been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
I feel like we should have our own little like talk show.
We should.
We really should. I've been thinking about that. And there's actually another friend of mine who I think would have everybody, like the three of us together doing that, like everybody would be on the floor rolling because we have such unique but complementary personalities.
Who? Makita?
Makita too. You know, Makita's not on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Facebook. I'm not even going to say her name because if I say her name and she catches this and I haven't mentioned to her before, I don't want to get told off. So we'll leave that. But if you guys are watching and you think maybe Kanisha and I should just be back to talk about random women and life and children and fashion and all of that stuff, let us know. But what is super exciting, I can't leave without telling you all about this, is that Kanisha and I will both be together again December 8th and 9th at the Glam Getaway. Have you heard about it? If you haven't, you should really check it out. So the Glam Getaway is a one night away for married women, single women, divorced women, women in it's complicated situations. It's for all women, a time for us to press pause on the busyness of life, a time for us to tune into ourselves, and a time for us to reconnect with God. So it includes everything that you can imagine, right? It's called Glam for a number of reasons. So Friday, I would say, is like our glam night where we're going to have all the pampering, all the fun, all the social stuff. Kanisha is actually going to be doing a styling sessions for how to dress for your body type, which I'm super excited about. But we'll have makeup, we'll have massages. We're going to have like a girls' night out to remember. And then on Saturday, which is December the 9th, we have, we're starting our morning with intention, with prayer and yoga and meditation. And then we have our full day glam session, where glam really in this aspect stands for God's love abides in me. And it's all about how to cultivate more of who we really are and who we were created to be. I think life causes us to forget who we really are. Life causes us to harden our hearts. We get upset, we get frustrated, things don't go the way we want. And it's all about reconnecting to the true essence of who we are. So how we can learn to live and love without fear and accomplish amazing things. So December 8th and 9th, definitely check it out because we'd love to see you there. So thank you, Kanisha, again for being my guest. This was fun, a lot of fun. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Jackie, hello, hello. What'd you say?
Is that Jackie Jeter?
It is Jackie Jeter.
I can't see the comments, so.
Yes, Jackie Jeter and Vicky was here.
Vicky!
And Lisa. Hi, Lisa. All right, y'all. So thank you. I will be back with you for a future episode of the Made Marriage Show. I'm not going to get myself to promising next week because I'm not 100% sure, but I will be back at some point. So be on the lookout. Make sure your notifications are turned on because I will let you know ahead of time. But until then, have a great, great evening, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.